So I'm here, I'll share mine. I'm here to tell you about Bold and Gold. I like getting outside for the fresh air and all the good smells, friends to share it with. This is why I like to go on amazing journeys, friends to share it with, and finding new things I hadn't experienced before. Some folks are here to learn about the program, your camp advisor. Favorite thing about being outside is it's the healthiest place to be. I want to learn more about camp. Amazing journeys have unexpected lessons in deepening the fabric of relationships. Awesome. To learn more information for this program and see if it would be a good fit for my 10-year-old. She likes being outdoors. And your 10-year-old says it's adventures, its ability to explore and finding something new and fun. Good to get fresh air. Hear about the differences from Lake Stockwell. Your kids have been at YMCA camps in the past, looking for something new and different, love challenging themselves, fresh air, exercise, sports. Amazing journey has excitement. Great. Those are all great reasons. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. So we hope this hour will be helpful to you and you'll get some information. You'll get some of your questions answered. Thanks for all of those who filled out the survey. That was really helpful. And I've asked Mark Dibble, our CEO, to get us started. Mark?
All right. Carol, can you hear me? Thumbs up?
Yep.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Carol. Thanks for being on here. I'm not going to talk too much. I just wanted to quickly take a minute to welcome everybody. I love talking about this program. I was so excited about what we've accomplished with Bold Gold the last couple of years, and I'm really excited about what we're going to accomplish going forward in the future. I'm also really excited that everybody here tonight is on here and interested in learning about it. Given the nature of what we do here at the YMCA and at summer camp, I tend to spend a lot of time reading about youth development and reading different studies about youth development and the skills and the traits that young adults need. And it seems like, every year new studies emerge about what young adults need to be successful in life. And every time I read one of these, and I'm sure Carol and other people feel the same way, but every time I read one of these, I just want to take the study and kind of throw it out in the world and put it on the internet and put it on our Facebook page and say, this is camp. Everything that this study says that people need in life, that young people need to be successful, this is camp. And Bold and Gold takes the best part of all that and kind of amplifies it. One of these organizations that I read a lot, it's called the Search Institute, and I wrote down their mission because I didn't want to get it wrong. Their mission is to conduct and apply research that promotes positive youth development and advances equity. So the Search Institute has identified what they call 40 developmental assets, and these are assets that they think young people need to be successful in life. They split them up into 4 different buckets, but 2 of them are, one of them is a positive identity, and the other one, the second one of the 4 is social competencies. When I read these, they read like a brochure for the Bold and Gold program, the Bold and Gold experience. So young people need self-esteem. They need a sense of purpose. They need the ability to do planning and decision-making, interpersonal competence, peaceful conflict resolution, and a positive view of their personal future. That last one, the positive view of your personal future, I think that's the one I come back to the most. From what I've read and what I've learned, grit or resiliency is probably one of the most important traits that as a father I can instill in my children. And I just think this is what the Bold and Gold trips do. They provide a challenge for young people where they can experience success with trained leaders, and they can take that sense of accomplishment with them back, wherever they go, back to school, back to college, back to their careers, and they know that they can conquer whatever it is that's in front of them, whatever kind of daunting tasks they might face. The Bold and Gold program just gives young people the sense of resiliency that they need to be successful in life. I myself was never fortunate enough to go on anything like this, but I often think that if there was a program like this when I was younger, that some of my more wayward years in my late teens and early 20s might have gone by a little bit quicker with a lot of the lessons that children learn in these programs. But You know, I am what I am, so I guess I can't complain. Lastly, I do just want to say how excited and thrilled I am that the National Bold and Gold team has chosen us to be their partner in this area, and I see a couple of them on the call today. We're just thrilled to be partnering up with them. They've been changing lives for, I think, over a decade now. We've been only a partner with them for the last few years, and even of that, I don't think I really understood the impact of this program until we were fortunate enough to steal Carol away from her old Y. So we brought her here a couple of years ago, and she's been running the program here for us. And she's been a treasure, and she's a leader in this space nationally. So I am going to stop talking now and let the people who actually know about this program kind of go ahead and do it. But mostly, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. And I hope when you leave here tonight, you're as excited about all these programs as I am. And it's hard to listen to Carol and some of the other people talk and not get really excited about it. So thank you.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. If it doesn't freeze up. Can y'all see that? Thumbs up if you can. Okay, great. So thanks, Mark, for starting us off tonight. Here's a trail map for this evening. We're going to talk about plans for summer 2021, the Bold and Gold history and national movement, key ingredients of a Bold and Gold trip, program design and impact. We'll tell you a story about a participant who came on one of our trips and have time at the end for questions and answers. So here are the basics of what we've got planned for summer 2021 Bold and Gold trips. I'll fill you in with a little more info than what's on your screen. They're all 1 week offsite adventures in the wilderness of the South Jersey Pine Barrens in July and August. Our website, ycamp.org, has all of the specific dates listed for each trip. This summer, we're offering 2 different itineraries. One is all hiking, and the other is a combination of canoeing and hiking. We carry all we need with us in backpacks or canoe duffels, sleeping in tents and exploring the area, traveling to new campsites most, if not all, days. Typical days are 3 to 8 miles, and there can be a longer day thrown in there during the course of the week, depending on the campsite locations. The trips can be challenging, but they are designed to be doable for beginners. We practice leadership skills during a trip, taking turns who has what role each day. One day you might be a cook, another day you might be the navigator, another day you could be the leader of the day, learning how to motivate and encourage others and planning out the logistics and stops along the way. The instructors are trained to gradually hand off leadership to the participants as the trip progresses. Each day we carve out some intentional solo time for personal reflection and meditation in these beautiful natural settings away from distractions. And no matter how difficult or easy the day, we always have Courage Circle together in the evenings. This is a time where we do things like reflect on the highs and lows of the day, share appreciations for others, express both positive and constructive ownerships for our individual actions and decisions, and address certain topics relevant to what the group needs in that moment. We include activities and discussions related to courage, confidence, community awareness, and nature appreciation throughout the day as well. Our trips are all single gender and clustered by similar ages, 11 to 13 and 13 to 15. We found that single gender trips tend to create a setting where each person feels comfortable stretching themselves in new ways and sharing about their experience openly. We create diverse groups of young people and create safe spaces for each participant to be themselves. Inclusion is one of our core values, and we strive to make sure everyone feels like they belong. Groups are kept small. We have 10 participants max with 2 thoroughly trained instructors who are at least 21 years old and hold certifications in wilderness first aid and lifeguarding. I personally train the instructors out on the trail in both backcountry skills and curriculum, so I can attest for quality and safety. I've been working with wilderness programs for more than 20 years and have been with Bold and Gold for nearly 7 of those years. We provide all the group gear like stoves and pots, canoes, backpacks, and safety equipment. We have an extensive packing list on our website for personal gear. It's mostly clothing. We strive to make the trips accessible to anyone who wants to come, so always let us know if you need anything. Tech clothing doesn't have to be expensive. There are often bargains online, or you can even find things at the local thrift store. Note that participants are not allowed to bring any electronics like cell phones to help everyone live in the moment and not be distracted. Bold and Gold at YMCA The Pines, as Mark mentioned, is part of a national movement with the Y. At this time, I'd like to introduce Courtney Aber, our Bold and Gold National Director, who is going to give us a brief history of Bold and Gold and how we at YMCA The Pines fit into that movement across the nation. Courtney?
Remember to get myself off mute there. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. Wanted to just talk a little bit about how the program started, because I think it's pretty, it says a lot about how the program's grown and how it was designed. In 1997, which feels like ages, a long time ago now, there were two women who met. One of them was a naturalist and one of them was an educator. And they started talking about some research that had come out at that time about how girls were losing confidence in middle school. There was a lot of research that was showing how at that time period, girls went from feeling great about themselves and feeling like there was all these opportunities and things that they could do in the future to not doing well in school and really feeling like they didn't have a lot of choices and options. These two women talked about how their experience in the outdoors really helped them maintain that during their growing up, and they wanted to provide that for young women. And so that they started this organization that became Gold. Fast forward 10 years, in 2007, there was a bunch of research that was coming out about how boys were suffering. All of a sudden, graduation rates for boys was down, and there was an increased violence for boys at that time period across all socioeconomic groups. So there was a group of people that said, we need to be able to fix this. And a lot of the people that were talking about it said, the outdoors has really been a place where I felt like I got the things that I needed to be able to carry forward and be successful. So they started a program called Bold for boys. In 2011, those two programs joined at the Y. And I feel like that's when it really came to be the program that we know it today. One of the things that is really unique about the Y is our ability to bring together people from all different backgrounds. And that was a key component out of all of those programs. Like they weren't saying, girls who are of a certain group are the ones who are losing confidence. It was really clear that that was true for girls regardless. And the same for the research on boys. And so all of a sudden, these two programs were operating together, and they were at the Y, where we're really able to reach people of different backgrounds and have them come together to do the program and learn from one another. So fast forward another couple of years, the CEO of the Y of Greater Seattle became the CEO of YUSA. And he said, this is one of the most impactful programs that I've seen in my 30-year Y career. I want to make sure that other Ys have this. And so they made the decision to really make the materials available and support other Ys to get the program started across the country. And we've grown from there. So there's a small team of us that work with different YMCAs around the country to make sure that they have the training and resources and support that they need to be able to make a difference in the lives of young people, to help them feel confident, to help them feel like they can be successful, and to help them really feel like they've got a bright future and know that they can carry out those things for themselves. So I'm absolutely thrilled that Y of the Pines is running this program. Carol's been involved for a long time. It's really an amazing, almost, I would say, expert on Bold and Gold. And they're doing a fantastic job. And it's really, it's just amazing to see how they've taken this program and brought it to life. So thanks.
Thanks, Courtney. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. Thumbs up again if you can see that. Great. Yeah, thanks for sharing the bigger picture. Courtney and the national team have been hugely supportive of our local efforts. So I'd now like to highlight the key ingredients of a Bold and Gold trip. There are some things that are just essential to make it authentically Bold and Gold. So one is taking an adventurous journey together through the wilderness, using leadership development curriculum designed for young people, creating small groups of similar aged youth from various backgrounds, doing mostly, if not exclusively, single gender trips, and including time on a trip for both self and group reflection, mindfulness, and nature appreciation. We wanted to outline a little bit more about the why behind Bold and Gold and how we aim to be relevant. Regarding the need, the reality is that youth are suffering mentally and physically, especially during this past year of the pandemic. Depression, anxiety, childhood obesity, we know are all current issues. Society is more divided than ever. Our planet is in peril. That's my dog, if you can hear it. So Bold and Gold trips strive to meet that need by providing physical and emotional challenge, creating diverse groups, and providing a wilderness immersion experience. We know that nature reduces stress, breaks down barriers, and builds connections between people and the natural environment. So the participant outcomes are that participants go back home with courage and confidence, greater self and group awareness, and a wonder and awe of nature. Theory is great, but real numbers tell the story. So here are some results from surveys done in 2019 from Bold and Gold participants across the nation. 90 to 91% have increased confidence in leading others, value differences in others, have increased appreciation for nature, get along with others, even if they look, think, or act differently than they do, and they have increased confidence to confront new or different challenges. And now for a story. This is about a boy who came on one of our trips in 2019. He was 12 years old and he had a remarkable journey. He came by himself and he didn't know anyone in his group. During the gear pack out, as I was helping him select his clothing for the trip, he confessed to me that he had never done this before. He'd never even slept in a tent. He was afraid of the bugs, being in water, what he would eat, how far he would hike, and he wouldn't even make direct eye contact with me or with anyone in the group. I drove the team to their trailhead. At the canoe launch, he came up to me and he said his legs suddenly were in pain. He'd had shin splints in the past and they were acting up. I don't disbelieve that he actually was having physical pain, but I believe that it was manifesting from extreme nerves of doing something totally outside of his comfort zone. I had him buddy up with one of the instructors and another boy, and with encouragement, he decided that he would at least give it a try. During the logistic, where I picked up their canoes at the side of the river and delivered their backpacks and resupply for the trail ahead, he came up to me and he said definitively, "Carol, I need to go home now." He said he was worried about his mom, that she would be worried about him. I learned in that moment that he not only had never slept in a tent before this trip, but that he had never slept away from home before. He had a rough challenge during the paddling portion of the trip. This was his first time in a canoe, and from the sounds of it, they had ping-ponged between the banks of the river while he learned how to effectively steer around obstacles. He even capsized their boat at one point. Though safe and sound, he felt defeated, and he was afraid for the hiking portion of the trip because he would have to carry all his stuff on his back, not just in his boat. I talked him through his panic, along with his trusty instructor who had paddled all that way with him in his boat. His instructor reminded him that they had tackled all of those obstacles together and that he would still be with him the rest of the way. He said that the team was relying on him to finish this journey strong with them, that he was an important part of the group, and that his attitude affects others. I told him that I believed in him and to think about how great it will be to complete this trip. that if he can complete this, the world will open up so many possibilities to him. He decided to stay and at least try, after I promised to call his mom to make sure she was still coming to pick him up at the right time. Meanwhile, his mom had been calling us multiple times a day to check in, and there was no way she was not going to be there. A few days later, at the end of the trip, back at base camp in the comfortable chaos of cleaning gear, he found me with a bright flash of a smile and direct eye contact. He said, "Carol, I did it. If I can do this, I can do anything." And he was absolutely beaming. I heard more of the backstory from his instructors in our debrief. The boy, in fact, didn't just complete the trip, but he became a leader. He learned how to cook on a camp stove, how to read a map. He organized all the group gear, and on his Leader of the Day experience, he set a plan for the group and communicated it well. At one point, several miles into the trail, one of his peers was struggling, and he was able to empathize and support him not only through encouraging words, but by carrying some of the weight of the other boys' pack. He was stronger than he first thought. He helped his instructors lead the evening courage circle, asking insightful questions to reflect on the events of the day and what everyone had accomplished together. When it was time for others in the group to lead, he also became a trusting follower. In summary, at the beginning of the trip, he had no friends, he was afraid of the woods, he was unsure of his own abilities, he had difficulty trusting others, he was making decisions only to make himself feel more comfortable in the moment, and he was missing home. And at the end of the trip, he made friends, he now enjoys being in nature, he's confident and capable as a leader, he built empathy for others and was aware of how his actions affected others. He trusts others. He's aware of how his actions affect himself in the big picture of life, and he's content being in new and different environments with unknowns. And this boy's story is not unique. I see it happen on every single Bold and Gold trip. The challenges might be different depending on the person's situation coming into the trip. Some might be more experienced with wilderness backpacking or more confident as leaders. And their challenge might be to learn how to take a step back or be a part of the group and help others. Everyone brings both strengths and areas for growth. Regardless of the participants' experience, these trips have a way of meeting each person where they're at, challenging them each in different ways and growing the whole person. Young people are capable of so much when we challenge them appropriately and give them the right tools and support to conquer their fears. Experiences on the trail translate so easily into providing confidence and courage for other times of challenge in life. So hopefully that gave you an idea of what Bold and Gold is about. If you have questions, you can write them in the chat box and we'll answer as many as we can here. If we don't get to them all now, we'll try to follow up and I'll provide my contact info at the end. And while you're doing that, first we have a couple of questions from the survey that have not been answered yet. So one is, what if COVID is still sticking it to us? It's a real possibility. We will continue to abide by state regulations at the time of the trips. In the summer of 2020, 3 other sites across the nation were able to run Bold and Gold trips despite the pandemic, but they were in different states with less strict regulations, like allowing overnight camp and keeping parks open. We ran a safe day camp in the summer of 2020, but we're hoping that the summer 2021 will open up to allow us to get back to doing overnight camp and multi-day trips. Do you know that if you register, you can get a full refund if we're not able to run? Another question that was sent in is, are there modifications made if there is inclement weather? That's a good question. Since the trips are all wilderness based, part of the journey is actually learning how to deal with inclement weather. Our instructors are trained to make adjustments along the way to stay safe. Things like moving off the water and putting up shelters for a thunderstorm or taking more water breaks in the extreme heat. Some of the most impactful learning experiences can actually be from literally weathering the storm with your teammates. If there's very severe weather that could be a real danger to our teams, we at base camp are always keeping an eye out and prepared to evacuate them if necessary. Looking for more questions. That's another good question. Is this instead of the Rangerette program or in addition to? This is in addition to. We've kind of gone through phases with moving Bold and Gold in, and last year we were calling all of the trips Bold and Gold trips, even the Rangers trips. This year we kind of separated it out. So Rangers still exists and it's happening, and Bold and Gold is in addition to. So we've kind of separated out the age groups as well. So Rangers is for the older kids and Bold and Gold's for ages 11 to 15. Can campers sign up with a friend to be in the same group? You can do a buddy request. So I believe that's part of registration. So yeah, if you sign up, there should be a piece in there where you can request a buddy. All right. That's
Carol?
Yeah.
You want me to talk just a little bit about what the other sites did to
Sure.
talk about COVID, and then maybe you could answer the question about how heavy the pack is. So like Carol mentioned, there were 3 other locations that were able to run programs last summer. They were in different states with different state restrictions. However, it was still COVID, and so there was they needed to be very safe. And I will say that we got about 450 youth across the country out on programs and with no cases of COVID. And so the combination of being outdoors and different safety protocols in terms of masks and distance and changing the number of participants and how close to one another they were and the different types of activities that were done together allowed them to operate in a way that made sure that the risk of contracting COVID was very, very low, and that they were abiding by federal regulations as well as their state, as well as kind of the YMCA's wanting to be more safe than is required of them. So we have documented all of that and are sharing that with Y the Pines as well as our other locations so that they can learn from those safe practices that were developed. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, thanks, Courtney. And I just scrolled up and saw these other questions. So about how heavy is a pack varies, like you said, but depending on the size of the group, we make it manageable. So if they're smaller children, often our instructors are carrying heavier packs. But I'd say, a participant pack is normally a lot lighter than my pack. So maybe like 30, I'd say max 40 pounds, sometimes less than that. Yeah, it's basically your clothing and then some group gear and food. So, and what's the difference between this program and Camp Okanagan? So I think I kind of answered that a little bit with the Rangers question, but Camp Okanagan is our boys camp and Camp Matalianique is our girls camp, and those are encompassed by YMCA the Pines. So Rangers is our what I was talking about before, our older wilderness trips for older kids. That's actually part of Camp Okanick and part of Camp Matalianiquay. And they spend a little bit of time at camp on the front and back end. And Bold and Gold runs alongside that. And we do most of our stuff off-site. So you land at camp, you pack out, and then get on the trail and have the experience in the forest just next door, and come back, unpack, clean up, and then we'll likely have a time at the beginning and the end for families to be involved as well, so you can kind of like get to meet the instructors and get a feel for what the trip's going to be. I think I answered that question. Let's see. Do most campers come from Burlington County, or do they come from other counties and states as well? Greg, do you want to answer that one?
Sure. Our campers are, we draw pretty much from everywhere between as far north as New York, all the way down to Delaware, Maryland, and even Virginia. So we can be pretty diverse with where we're drawing campers from. I would say with respect to our overnight camps and our tripping programs, a lot of campers do tend to be from, we'll call it the Tri-County area, Burlington, Camden, and Philadelphia counties. But with that said, we have a large contingent of campers that are from North Jersey, South Jersey, and the Jersey Shore area. So it's not really that limited to Burlington and Camden counties.
And then who administers prescribed medication if a child is on any during the trip? So at the beginning, when you check in, we'll have you drop off meds, and then our instructors carry those meds and administer it during the trip. One important part about that is you need to make sure that it's labeled with the dosage and make it really specific so that we know what we're doing with that. And then we record all the meds given during the week. The exception to that would be if a child is highly allergic or has severe asthma, sometimes it often makes sense to have those with the child in their backpack, so that in case the instructor gets separated, then that's not an issue.
Yeah, Carol, my apologies if you already covered this, but can you cover just a bit about the wilderness first aid training and some of that's provided for the instructors so they know how to do that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, all of our instructors are either wilderness first responders or wilderness first aid certified. So they are equipped to handle any kind of emergency that would come up in the wilderness, anything from setting a broken bone to dealing with allergic reactions and administering epi. So there's, we're equipped with that. And then we also have a nurse that's always on site at base camp. So if we need any extra advice, we can always ask. And then I'm certified as a wilderness first responder and prepared to deal with evacs and things like that. Do you find that most campers have already had camping and hiking experience prior to attending? What I have found, it's kind of a mix. Oftentimes the kids will come in with like they've slept in a tent before, but maybe never have like hiked with everything on their back and then put up their tent each night at a different site. They might have gone out for like day hikes or paddles, but a lot of people come in and they're beginners, and we do our training to deal with all of that. And we do a lot of training the first 3 days. And then usually about day 3, the kids kind of know what they're doing, and instructors can take a step back. Typically, it depends on the group, but you're worried about the backpack weight causing an issue. So if your child is only 11, we'll probably have his pack be a lot of his own clothing and then a little bit of the group gear. but we're definitely going to be able to kind of redistribute weight as needed as we go along. Oftentimes the first day we're figuring out like who is comfortable with their pack weight, and then we can always redistribute as we go along. All right. If you have more questions, I'm available. So I'm going to share my contact information. You can go to our webpage and learn more. You can sign up, and if you sign up in the next 3 days, you will save 5% off your registration. And if you still have questions, here's my information. Thanks everybody for coming. I hope this was beneficial for you. And we hope to see you this summer. I'll leave the slide up for a little while, but you're free to leave.